Hello, everybody. I'm Steve Krashen, and I'm speaking to you from Santa Monica, California. I'm not home. I'm in my granddaughter's room, where she is the technical director for all this work. Hello to my colleagues at the Iran Zanim Language School in Zanjan, Iran. Pleasure to talk with you today. And my topic is guided self-selected reading. Guided self-selected reading is a term that is introduced by Beniko Mason, and it stands for guided self-selected reading. I think it's one of the most useful ideas that we've ever had introduced into our profession. It fulfills a serious gap, and that is, how do you get from the basic levels in reading to the point where you can read authentic literature on your own, books that are written by native speakers and for native speakers. What I'm going to present to you is based on theory and a lot of research. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about it. The basis for all this is what we call optimal input, an idea, again, presented, I wrote about it years ago, 1982, and Beniko Mason has reread what I did and has improved on it. I presented it in a recent paper, which I will post, and a recent YouTube presentation. Very simple. Optimal input is input that's comprehensible, extremely interesting, is very rich in language, and there's a lot of it. It's abundant. It's done in a low anxiety environment. No comprehension questions, no demands for premature output, low affective filter. Pleasure reading meets these requirements. Studies so far that we have show that pleasure reading itself results in very good gains in grammar, vocabulary, what we call knowledge and text structure, that is a feeling for how good writing is done, and even oral ability, listening and speaking. So this is a sure winner. Beniko's doing it as an introduction to, or kind of a lead-in to, pleasure reading after students have built up some competence through listening to stories and before they can freely select their own reading. In guided self-selected reading, readers read a lot of very easy but interesting text. I'm going to say that again because that's the whole thing right there. Guided self-selected reading, you read a lot of very easy but interesting texts. A remarkable, simple idea that we really haven't tried yet. We've tried everything else. It's guided because teachers guide the students to reading that's right for them. To do this, the teachers have to know their students, and they have to know their interests, as well as be pretty well knowledgeable about what's there, what graded readers are like, what they say, what are the good ones. To help teachers do this, students fill out a brief, very simple reading notebook after each book they read. It takes 5 minutes, quick summary of the book, some reflections, all in the first language, title, pages read, and any questions they might have about their reading experience or about the book to the teacher. Again, guided self-selected reading requires a large amount of reading material be available. In Beniko Mason's program, when she was at the university, 500 students had access to over 5,000 graded readers in English. Isn't that wonderful? That's what we're talking about. That's what we need. Teachers also have to encourage reading and allow some time for competence to develop. Beniko Mason's studies show that for mature students, it takes at least 4 semesters until students are ready to read truly authentic texts, and not all are going to be ready in 4 semesters. That is, texts written by native speakers for native speakers. Traditional teaching does the opposite. That is, read them with pleasure and with comfort. Traditional teaching does exactly the opposite. In the beginning, you remember your basic English class? You get very short texts that are designed to help you practice certain target grammar rules, target vocabulary, and after that you jump to very, very challenging texts, and sometimes classics or serious papers and magazines and newspapers, etc. And this is completely the opposite. It's easy stuff. There's no target vocabulary, etc. You absorb all that while you read. Research supporting guided self-selected reading goes back 20 years to our first paper in 1997. The most recent study looked at guided self-selected reading of students studying English as a foreign language who had experienced some story listening, hearing stories. They spent time periods ranging from 22 weeks to nearly 3 years, 162 weeks. The readers averaged well over a half a point gain on the TOEIC test for each hour of reading. So let's say they read 2 hours a day, you could gain 100 points on the TOEIC just sitting down, relaxing, reading a good book. In a couple of years, you will have gone from low levels to pretty high levels. Right now, GSSR, Guided Self-Selected Reading, is only truly possible in EFL, not in other languages, and with institutions providing a large collection of easy books, interesting books to read. This is a problem we can solve. We can solve it nearly overnight. It would cost, putting together a good library of good, easy, interesting books, would cost about the same as buying a computer and the complex, expensive, and untested programs that we cheerfully purchase. We can do a lot better. Let's try this out. It's very promising. We've got the research supporting it. Students like it. It's easy to do. Let's try it.